Welcome back to the Theme Park Realm YouTube channel, and in today's video it's going to be something a little bit different for you. I'm actually going to be doing my top 10 UK coasters video. Now, of course, this is my personal opinion. You know, people are probably going to disagree with some of my choices, some of the sort of rankings, you know, where I've put the coasters in the list. But this, again, it is just my personal opinion. Obviously, if you think you've got sort of a different ranking, do let me know in the comments down below. But, you know, just before we get started, just want to say it is my personal opinion. So it may be that I've put one of your coasters, one of your favourite ones, right at the sort of top of the list, and then you completely disagree. I do apologise, but you know that this is my opinion. And so let's get started. So at number 10, I would put Colossus at Thorpe Park. Obviously, Colossus opened in 2002, and when it opened, it was the world's first 10-looping coaster. Now, you know, Colossus, it does have a very long layout, and it does, you know, have some really good elements as well, you know, especially that massive vertical loop, and also the 5 rolls towards the end, the Heartline rolls. Those rolls are actually probably my favourite part of the ride, sort of the you know, the final sort of few inversions that you go through before the brakes. But yeah, Colossus, you know, it doesn't have much theming. It is, you know, sort of starting to get a little bit rough now as well. And so that's why I'd put it at number 10. As I say, it's still a great coaster. Every single coaster on this list is a fantastic ride. But for me, Colossus just isn't sort of in, I wouldn't put it sort of in my top 5 or anything like that. So that is why I put it in number 10. Just because it doesn't have that much theming. Yeah, you know, it's a great ride, but it just lacks, you know, the theming sort of side of it for me. So that's why that's in number 10. Now, in number 9, we have Nemesis Inferno, again at Thorpe Park. Of course, Nemesis Inferno opened in 2003. It is a B&M inverted roller coaster, and obviously the same model as Nemesis at Alton Towers, the original Nemesis. Obviously, you know, it has the same name, but the theme of the ride is completely different. You know, in my opinion, it is a very good ride. You know, I really do like the B&M inverts. They are really good. It's really smooth as well. But for me, Nemesis Inferno, you know, it just, for me personally, it's just not as good as Nemesis at Alton Towers. I don't know if that's sort of the ride layout alone, but obviously with Nemesis at Alton Towers, there's just more going on. The theming is better, in my opinion. You know, the ride sort of dug into the ground. Nemesis Inferno doesn't really share much with the original Nemesis. As I say, it is a good coaster, don't get me wrong, and I do also like the fact that when you sort of leave the station, you go straight into that sort of underground section. I'd really like that sort of element to it, so it's not sort of straight into the lift hill. But you know, it's just a normal coaster. There isn't really that much theming to it. It's a good ride, but it, you know, again, it's going number 9 because it just doesn't have sort of, it doesn't really do that much for me. It's a good ride, but it doesn't do much. Now at number 8, we've got Oblivion at Alton Towers. Now, of course, Oblivion is a B&M dive machine. In fact, it was the world's first vertical drop roller coaster when it opened back in 1998. You know, of course, it isn't technically vertical.
Oblivion, the world's first vertical drop roller coaster at Alton Towers.
Now, of course, Oblivion, it is a fantastic ride. I really love the theme of it. However, the problem with Oblivion is the length of the ride. It's, you know, and don't get me wrong, the drop on the ride is great. Of course, it is the UK's fastest roller coaster. Even now, it's still the fastest ride that we've got in the UK with its 68 miles per hour. But it, you know, apart from the drop, there isn't really that much else to it. You know, it's not very long. I'd still rate it above Colossus and Nemesis Inferno, just because I really do like the theme, and the drop on it is really good. But because of how short it is, that's why it's sort of nowhere near number 1 for me, just because of how short the actual ride is. If it was a bit longer, it'd probably go a lot higher up in my list. But yeah, I put Oblivion at number 8. Now, this is probably where it's going to start getting a little bit controversial, because at number 7, I'm going to put 13 at Alton Towers. Now, obviously, I have rated 13 higher than Oblivion, and that's for a number of reasons. Now, I really do like 13. Of course, 13 opened in 2010. It's an Intamin freefall drop coaster. Of course, at the time when it opened, it was the world's first freefall track drop coaster. Now, what really makes this ride for me is the overall theming of the ride. It's really well themed. Throughout, obviously, it is a dark theme. You know, some would argue that's not that difficult to achieve, but I do think it's done really well. Of course, you've got the building, which is sort of themed to be part of the Alton Towers ruins. It's sort of themed to blend in with all of that. And then that free fall drop, of course, if you've been on it and you've never, you know, experienced a free fall drop, people just don't expect that free fall drop to be there. You know, people that don't sort of do their research beforehand. And it's just you know, a fantastic coaster. You know, it's not the fastest, it's not the tallest, it's not the longest, but it is a really good coaster. You know, you've got the forward section through the forest, you've got the drop, and then of course the backward section as well before you go back into the station. So that for me is why 13 would sit higher than Oblivion in my personal opinion. Now, number 6 is going to be Stealth at Thorpe Park. Of course, Stealth opened at Thorpe Park in 2006. It's another Intamin roller coaster, Intamin launch coaster, or accelerator coaster, as they would call it. Now, the ride, of course, launches riders from 0 to 80 in 1.9 seconds. Now, the reason why I would rate Stealth so high on the list is I feel like it's just because there isn't another ride like it in the UK. You know, Stealth goes faster. The initial launch, well, it doesn't technically go faster, but the initial launch on Stealth is the quickest launch that we've got in the UK, and it really does pack a punch. Obviously, if you go on Rita and then you go on Stealth afterwards, it just feels so much more powerful, that launch. Even though it's not that much more powerful, it just feels so, you know, so much more powerful. And there's no other ride quite like it in the UK. You know, there's no other ride where you're launched at that speed. You know, there's not that much to Stealth. You know, it goes up and then it goes back down again, but you know, it maintains its speed. It goes straight up, and then, you know, the next thing you know, you're facing vertically down again, and then you go into those final brakes, and the actual brake run is so long because of how fast you're going. It's absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, Stealth for me would be number 6, just because I feel like there's no other ride like it in the UK. It's extremely fast, and yeah, for me it would be number 6. Now, in at number 5, I would have to put the Smiler at Alton Towers. Of course, the Smiler opened in 2013. It's a Gerstlauer Infinity coaster. It was the first Infinity coaster to ever be made, and it's also still to this day the world record holder with its 14 inversions. The Smiler is a fantastic ride, and I really do like the Smiler. The reason why it's not nearer to number 1 is just because it does have jolts here and there. And I think in some places the layout and the profiling of the track just isn't the best, especially towards the very end. But you know, there is some great elements on the Smiler. I certainly love the fact that it goes out of the station straight into the first inversion before you've even gone into sort of a lift hill or anything like that. I also love the fact that it's got the vertical lift hill as well in the middle of the ride. But as I say, you know, it does have a few issues. You know, mainly the profiling of the track towards the end of the ride isn't great, and it does get a little bit uncomfortable now and again. Don't get me wrong, the ride's not rough, like it's not really rough, but there's just jolts here and there, and so that's why I put it at number 5. But don't get me wrong, it's a fantastic ride. It looks great off-ride as well. It's very sort of visually impressive, and I also really like the theme as well, because I feel like the theme was something different. You know, Alton Towers, they always tend to go for like sort of dark theme rides, and the Smiler really is sort of different to all of the, you know, the other rides that they've done sort of in recent years, so it really does get praise for that as well. But yeah, the Smiler would have to be number 5 for me. Now, of course, time for some more controversy, as I am putting Nemesis at Alton Towers above the Smiler. Again, I apologise if this offends anyone, but for me, Nemesis is number 4. It used to be that I would rate the Smiler above Nemesis, but unfortunately the Smiler has got jolts and it has gotten a little bit rough for me, so I do now prefer Nemesis. You know, Nemesis is a great ride. Of course, it opened in 1994. It's recently celebrated its 25th anniversary. And you know, Nemesis really has gained sort of worldwide popularity. You know, people across the world know about Nemesis. It still ranks fairly high in coaster polls as well, which is, you know, just fantastic for such an old ride. Of course, Nemesis has also been the focus of a number of sequel rides. Of course, Nemesis Inferno that we discussed earlier on. Of course, Nemesis Subterra as well. But you know, Nemesis has always been one of my favourite coasters there. But unfortunately, you know, now it just goes above the Smiler for me. You know, the scenery around the ride, the fact that it's dug all into the ground. You know, you feel like your legs are going to hit the floor. And just the, you know, the inversions and the smoothness of the ride as well. You know, don't get me wrong, again, it's not the smoothest coaster in the world, but you know, given its age, it is incredibly smooth for, you know, a coaster that's 25 years old. But you know, it's just a great ride, an overall great ride, and so that's why it's at number 4.
From small beginnings come great things. From the fusion of metal and mind, precision is perfected. Something truly unique at Blackpool Pleasure Beach, woven into the fabric of the earth. The UK's first double-launch roller coaster. Icon Dare to Ride.
Now, third place goes to Icon at Blackpool Pleasure Beach. Of course, Icon the ride opened at Blackpool in 2018 last season, and it was the first brand new coaster to be built at the park since the big one in 1994, which is an extremely long amount of time for a theme park not to install a brand new roller coaster. Of course, Icon is manufactured by Mack Rides, and it is a multi-launch coaster, which is of course the first of its kind in the UK. You know, it's got a great layout, but for me what makes Icon is the fact that you've only got lap bars holding you in really adds to the ride experience. I wish that there was more coasters in the UK of sort of Icon's calibre that only had lap bars, because it really does enhance the experience. You know, the layout itself, there's loads of elements in it. You've got that sort of heartline roll just before the second launch. That's fantastic. You really do feel like you're going to come out of your seat, and there's lots of twists and turns as well, and the fact that they've managed to fit that coaster in to the area with all of the other rides around as well is very impressive. But you know, Icon is just an overall great ride, and certainly I really would hope that other theme parks in the UK will install their own Mack launch coasters in the future as well, because it's just a fantastic coaster. You know, it's not number one. The reason it's not number one is because I feel like it does kind of meander at the very end of the layout. It does sort of meander. I feel like it needs, like, it should have had like an extra inversion or something like that, just to make sort of that final impression before you go into the brake run. But apart from that, it's a fantastic ride, and that's why it's number 3. Now, of course, in second place is Wicker Man at Alton Towers. Of course, the Wicker Man opened at Alton Towers in 2018. It's the first wooden roller coaster to open at a UK theme park in over 2 decades, and the ride is extremely immersive throughout. I feel like the park really focused on the finer details with Wicker Man, and that's why it's so high up in my list. You know, the ride sits on the site of the Flume. The Flume got taken out. They built this massive wooden roller coaster over it, and it's just a great ride. You know, if it was just a coaster on its own, it probably wouldn't be ranked so highly, but the overall theme of the ride, there's so much detail, and you know, it's got the pre-show, the massive huge Wicker Man structure, and all just little bits of theming around the queue line as well, and that for me is what really makes the ride. The station as well, you know, in my opinion, it's got the most detailed station of any, you know, sort of theme park in the UK. The Wicker Man station, especially if you go in there at night, it just looks fantastic. It really does look the part. And you know, the actual ride experience, don't get me wrong, it's not the biggest coaster ever, it's not the tallest, again, or the fastest, but it is a good layout. It does well with, you know, the height. You know, they don't have much height to work with at Alton Towers, and it uses the height that it's got quite effectively, and it is a really, you know, fun layout. But yeah, for me, the theming and all of the detail, you know, really adds to the ride, and that's why it's number 2 on my list. Now, I know what you're probably thinking at this point. We've had the Smiler, we've had the Wicker Man, we've had Icon. What is at number 1? Well,
UK's first winged roller coaster, the Swarm. Now, brave it backwards. New for 2013 at Thorpe Park.
number 1 goes to the Swarm at Thorpe Park. Yep, the Swarm at Thorpe Park is my favourite roller coaster in the whole of the UK. Now, of course, the Swarm opened in 2012, and it is the UK's first and only winged roller coaster. Now, of course, the ride also features the world's first inverting drop element, you know, straight after you come out the lift hill. But overall, the Swarm, in my opinion, is a fantastic ride. You know, you've got the layout is one thing, but then the theming as well is also really good. You know, all of like the destroyed buildings, you know, there's a fire engine with the fire effect, there's like a helicopter, a real plane fuselage that's sort of like just buried half in the ground. The whole theme and the whole ride experience is fantastic. I love the fact that when you go over the, you know, the top of the lift hill, you go straight into that inversion, you're facing the ground straight away, and it's just a fantastic ride. And of course, with this ride as well, because of it, you know, because of the winged trains, you know, there's 2 different ride experiences that you can have depending on which side of the train you sit on as well, which also adds to it. But yeah, for me, the Swarm at the moment is number 1. I don't think anything's going to top it for a long time. It's just a great overall ride, and you know, I can't see anything sort of coming in the near future that's going to top the Swarm for me, unless the Swarm got taken down or something like that, which I imagine is very unlikely. So that is my top 10 UK coasters list for 2019. I can't see anything changing on that list for the foreseeable future, unless of course one of the theme parks builds a new ride. I think that'll sort of pretty much be staying as it is for now. But yeah, you know, if you do disagree with any of sort of the rankings that I've put on there, do let me know in the comments down below. If you think that you'd put something else in first place, again, let me know in the comments. I will be interested to hear what other people's opinions are, you know, what their favourite rides are as well in the UK. But as always, if you are new, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Do click the notification bell as well, so you'll be notified every time we upload a new video. But apart from that, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.